Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Nay, and today we are building a Tartosa Bakery. Now, this bakery is mainly meant for my Joy of Life save that I play over here on YouTube, but I thought it would be super fun to share it with you guys. Now, this build is a little out of my comfort zone. I do not always think that I am the best builder in the world, but I have been having a lot more fun in build mode, and I just love sharing this content with you guys. I had so much fun like taking pictures at the end and screenshotting all of those, and I will be uploading this to my Tumblr and my Patreon so you are able to download the tray files, and I will link all of the custom content that I use in this build. Now, there were a couple sets that were released which really inspired this build, and I apologize if I'm saying this wrong, but Valia, Valia, released two CC sets. One was Baker's Kitchen, which was a little bit ago, and then recently released their Wisteria Whisk set. And it was just all based around a bakery, and it had all these like baked goods on trays and like rolly carts and actual like stainless for a kitchen. And I knew immediately that Maeve, my Joy of Life founder, needed a bakery, and it needed to be this just beautiful, amazing little bakery. So I get a lot of my inspiration on builds from Pinterest. And when I was looking up the style to builds, I struggled with this build for so long. It probably took me a week and a half in real life between like work and, actual life things to get this built. But I love how it turned out, and I'm so obsessed with it, and I'm so happy to share it with you guys finally. So when I first started building it, I could not figure out the layout for the life of me. I tried to use platforms, and me and platforms are never going to be friends, and I think that that's okay. But I really, really wanted this build to be colorful, and I wanted it to be, somewhere fun and somewhere where you would actually, be able to get use out of it. If you download this, it absolutely does not have to be a bakery. It can be whatever you really want it to be, but I wanted it to be just kind of an open, fun space. I think that it might be fun if you turn it into a restaurant. I think it could totally function that way. I add a lot of tables in, and again, there's a lot of CC on this build, so I do apologize, but some recent scents that were released were just absolutely too perfect not to use. And I have spent years cultivating my CC folder, so I'm gonna use it when I can. But as you can see, this place doesn't really have like a front door. This big arch right here is the main entrance for it. And then there's a little side entrance that we'll see in a little bit that exits like the main seating area. And I just wanted it to be bright and open because they live in this beautiful world of Tartosa where it doesn't really snow, it doesn't really rain, it doesn't do all these things. So why not have this big beautiful opening where you can see the outside, like you could probably smell the ocean, you could hear, nature outside. I just thought that that was absolutely perfect. And my Joy of Life founder Maeve would be all about it. I really also wanted to highlight on florals and a lot of life within this bakery. Maeve is such a sweet soul, and she would want, you know, a lot of plants and a lot of life moving around her bakery. She is just like the sweetest little thing in the world. She's my baby, and I cannot get enough of her. But once we start decorating the inside, you will see that I use not a whole lot of color on the inside because I felt like the outside was pretty colorful. So I mainly stuck to whites and blues, but I almost took like a Greek route when decorating the inside, which was kind of interesting. So there's a lot of blues, and there's a lot of there's like a tile that I use that almost reminds me of Greece, and I end up loving it. So right now we're just finishing the outside. I loved these columns, and I believe they're by Felix Andre and the organic set. And I feel like they just take any and all of your builds to the next level because they add that little, that little pop of like stone. and it adds a little bit more dimension to your builds opposed to them just being those bright colors, which I really enjoyed. So I really wanted there to be a lot of light and a lot of windows, but when I get to like the main bakery area, that's why I left it really open so that you could still have this lightness, but not necessarily have, big windows because there wasn't really a whole lot of room for that. So right here, I'm adding in the stairs that lead you to the second floor. I put bathrooms up there more for like a functionality thing. But if you decide to download this and you want to use this as a like an apartment upstairs, as you can see, there's a whole lot of room that you're able to do that. And you could even make it a 2-story apartment with that second column being 3. So you could totally make it as, a single sim moves out, they get this bakery, and maybe it's unfurnished and you have to sell their baked goods on the side of the road to get it furnished so that they can actually open it. I thought that'd be cute. Ooh. So when it came to the outside, I really didn't want a whole lot of grass because I just don't know why, but it felt a little weird to have a whole lot of grass in this area. I felt more like terracotta or stone was going to be a better fit. And I bounced between the stone that I'm laying now and a different one because I almost wanted it to stay true to like a red terracotta, but it was just clashing with the roof a little bit and it just didn't feel right. So I ended up going with a little bit of a lighter stone. This was the second one that I was going to place. And I just could not get it to work. So I end up going with this. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more neutral, so that that nice bright roof can pop and the accents of the like little awnings can pop as well. But here I am adding in more windows and just adjusting all the things. And I absolutely adore how this build turned out. I really don't build in this style all too often. And I don't really build in styles that challenge me too much. But this one was both and I loved it. I added in these little planter boxes all around well, there's one here and then there's 2 that go in the back area when we furnish that because I felt like Maeve would still want some florals and, some life around it, but not necessarily from a like grass patch. And I felt like this was a little bit more commercial based. When we go to the back, there are a whole lot of planters because Maeve does have, she really likes to grow her own stuff. So she'll grow her own lemons and blueberries and choco berries and things like that. Because in the Joy of Life challenge, you do have to live with the simple living lot trait, and I will put the simple living lot trait onto this bakery when I get it into my game. But here we are moving on to the inside. Now, the inside is my absolute favorite part. I love the main bakery area and I love the kitchen just so much. There's a lot of personality in both of the areas, and I just love the decor items and everything that we used. I'm obsessed. So I go with these little half tiles and then a circular tile because I felt like anything else, like putting those refrigerated displays that we have, was just going to be a little too cluttered and crowded. So I still wanted a mix of them, but I didn't want anything that didn't feel like the space worked. So instead, I use these little half tiles and then I put little displays next to them. And I felt like it really made the space not only functional, but also pretty aesthetic. Which I adored. I love it. And when I put all these like little selling trays all around, so that way Maeve is able to, actually sell her baked goods. And I did a little mix of both decorative baked goods that come in the Wisteria Whisk set and also the ability for her to put actual baked goods in those refrigerated displays just so that way she's able to sell a whole lot of baked goods and it's not just I really wanted to go for functionality and aesthetics and I felt like we hit the head for both of them. So in my mind, this is like the little back counter area, so only Maeve is really going back there. To the right of this area, there is going to be a little like doorway, like an open doorway that'll lead you to the main sitting area. And then there's another big arch that'll be in here. But to the left, which is the door we're putting in right now, this is going to be the kitchen. And I really struggled on this because I wanted Maeve to have the kitchen of her dreams. You know, she's worked really hard to get to where she is, and I wanted her to have this big, beautiful kitchen. But the actual build itself, I didn't want it to be too big because in these traditional, like Mediterranean style builds, they are smaller rooms and they utilize their outdoor space more than anything. So I felt like I did a good size kitchen for her. She's able to function in it and she's able to do the things that she needs to do while also having decor and not straying away from the integrity of the build. So here I am just throwing in some of the display trays so that way she can sell her baked goods. And I think that they look so cute. I love tying in the white with the darker oak. I think it just makes it look a lot more balanced because I didn't want anything to be too light or too dark. And these little decor, like baked goods baskets, are so freaking cute. There's a lot of amazing CC that comes in these sets, so I highly recommend checking them out and downloading them. And any and all of the CC that, again, apologize if I'm butchering it, but Valia drops. I have all of their CC. I love them. They are just amazing. I use a bit of their CC around the entire build, if I remember correctly. And they're just adorable. So I also use a lot of Felix Andre, and these like little cake stands are by Hey Harry CC. It's from their s'more set, which they just released as well, which has really cute bakery decor items again. So I really wanted this area to, again, have a lot of life and have a lot of personality in it. And if you don't know me, I love plants. Plants and I are just best friends. I have so many plants in real life, and they all have little names, and I'm just obsessed with my plants. So I really wanted there to be life and greenery inside of this bakery because I felt like in Italy, that's exactly what you would get. You know, you get life, you get all these things. They all have these fun, colorful pots to bring a bit of color because there was a lot of blue and there was a lot of white. So I really wanted to tie in oranges and greens and yellows. So the biggest drawback of this bakery right now is the functionality of it. So with the retail spaces as we have them now and with the businesses and hobbies pack. So currently like my sim has a small business where there's not really a good way to have a small business to have them buy baked goods. It's more like they eat baked goods. So the second you set something down, they won't buy it, but they will just all devour it. So I think I might have to move into more of a retail area, which is what this lot is categorized as. It's a retail lot. So that way my Sims are able to actually functionally use it and people will buy things. This build is also 100% playtested, so they can get in and out of things. I think in the final version, when I was playtesting it, I moved a couple of the bathrooms around because the way that I have them in this video, they were not functional. So I had to move them around, and now they are completely functional. So that is good. But your Sims can cook, your Sims can move around. When I was testing the retail playability of it, you could set things down and sell them, but that's where the issue of people who were not actually coming in and buying things. So I don't know if that's a bug on my end or what, but Sims can move around, they can sit down, they can eat, they can do all those things. So I'm gonna call that a win in my book. So moving into this area, there's going to be a ton more plants, but the next area that we're really going to decorate is the kitchen. And I used the entire set by Valia, the baker's kitchen, and Wisteria Whisk. And they have like this little like butcher cart almost, or like baker's cart, where it's got like a butcher block on top and then it's got metal racks on the bottom. So I used two of them and I put stand mixers on both sides because I really want Maeve to be able to get help in her bakery. So not only from her significant other, but the second generation of the Joy of Life challenge, you're supposed to be like a chef and then have like a world famous restaurant. I'm pretty sure I'd have to look into it again. But I know you're supposed to be a chef. So I thought if we had a couple stand mixers and we had functionality, there's like two ovens. Actually, there's three ovens technically. But if we had functionality for multiple Sims to be in that kitchen cooking, then I think that would be a good story development for Maeve to be able to, actually raise this chef. And like, this is where, um, Maeve has multiple children right now, but their mom has this bakery and they've been cooking in this bakery forever. So of course they'd want to be a chef. Of course, like that makes sense. So I think that when whoever the next heir is, I have no idea who the next heir is. Maeve's kids are currently infants, so neither one of them have shown a interest in cooking or anything like that. But I think once they start showing an interest, I'll probably bring all of the kids over and they'll have like family days at the bakery. Um, her baby daddy, Jax, right now likes to cook as well, but he's very, very lazy. And I just don't know that Maeve is vibing with that at the moment. But he could come over, he could help bake, just so it's not just Maeve stocking up this bakery because there's a lot of slots and things for her to stock. And if she were to do that all by herself, it would take her hours. So I really liked the idea of like just a table in the center or like a circular thing in the center for there to be just a bunch of good like baked goods all around. So I put these little cake stands in from the s'more set from Harry. And I did different sizes because there are like different size cakes that you could do. And I have not tested this out, but I don't know if those flowers can stay or not. But I thought they were just a little nice, like little pop. But if not, you could totally remove them and then just have like cakes all around and like baked goods. And I just imagine, people walking in the door and they get like, like when you go to like the grocery store and they have donuts and you get like the little bags or like little boxes and you like put them in there and then like put them in there and then they go up to the cash register and they just pay for them. I just thought it was super cute. And I also thought like maybe we could set some of the plants for sale. Um, I mean, emotionally, I'm attached to all of these plants, but if you wanted, you could so set some of the plants for sale, and it could be a bakery and a plant shop, and just so many things. So this is where I'm adding in that decoration food from that Wisteria Whisk set. And look at all of those goodies, guys. These are absolutely insane. So there's two sets of trays, the metal trays, which are on like the right side right now. And in those two trays, there's like different goodies. So like there's eclairs and there's croissants and they're decorated differently. So each swatch is different, like decorated baked goods, which just blew my mind. And it's the same thing for the baskets on the left, which I just again blew my mind because it would make sense that you have different like baked goods all around and not the same for baked goods, set there. So we were actually able to decorate this entire wall without using two of the same swatches, which is super just amazing to me because that just makes it look so realistic and so, like lived in. And I love realism and I love the realisticness of it all. I just think that's super important in this game, at least how I play it. I know certain people do not care if their game is realistic. A lot of people use it as an escape from reality, which I totally understand. So this little computer is functional. It's by Max 20. They did a retail therapy set when the businesses and hobbies expansion pack came out, and they have a whole bunch of good things. So if you like to build a clothing shop, which this could totally be a clothing shop too. You could take out the kitchen, you could add an archway, you could do like a kid section where the kitchen is and then like an adult section. There's a lot of possibilities with this build. I just love how the outside looks and it can be totally versatile to whatever, you need it to be. I think it'd be super cute if it was a little restaurant. and I think it would have so much functionality. Instead of the double doors, you just add in like a little peaked kitchen or, something like that. But so in the kitchen, there are two, technically three ovens. There's two double ovens, which we're about to put in right now. And then in the Wisteria whisk set, they have this like metal, like commercial oven that you see in actual kitchens, which I thought was awesome to still have in there. And it's next to the fridge. But this way, you can have three Sims baking something at a time. And of course, if you need more, you can add in more ovens. And those ovens are able, like the commercial ovens that are in there, are able to be moved around and stacked side by side. I really wanted some decoration in here. I wanted it to feel like it was lived in, like it was used. This is Maeve's second home. If she is not at home with her twins, she is at this bakery with her twins, with her baby daddy. She is here. She is making a little living for herself. She loves baking. She loves doing all these things. So I wanted there to feel like, she's been in this kitchen. She's getting ready for the day. So these little like rolly carts with the trays of baked goods, I loved because I can so see, she pulls a tray of baked goods out of the oven and she puts it on the rack to cool. And then in the center, she's just decorating some um those like little guys in the center are called New York rolls, I'm pretty sure. But like she has flour spills and she has croissants that still need to go in the oven and rolling pins and mixers and a scale, and I thought the little like center area was super duper cute. And my favorite little thing in this entire build is this little rag or towel, I guess. This little towel that's on the edge of this like butcher block counter is my favorite thing in the entire build. It has like little citrusy design on it, and it's just so cute. And then there's like a little basket of lemons because she just picked lemons from her lemon tree. So there's a lot of story to be told inside of this build, which I just thought was super important, especially in a legacy challenge. But if you guys download this, you can absolutely make it your own. If you do not have the ability to have CC, the entire outside, besides the like little stone on the corners, that is all completely base game. And my wedding stories, I believe, I think there's one pack for just the color of something, but you are able to use that, replace, the stones with terracotta instead of the CC stones that I use. But mainly the things that I use for just decoration, nothing structural, is CC, which can be super helpful, especially if you don't have access to CC or if you don't want to go and download every single set. The main ones that I use are that Wisteria Whisk set, Baker's Kitchen, and I use Lunch by, I believe it's by Pearson, but don't quote me on that. And I just really wanted like covered tables. I just thought that was very, Italy, very, very posh, very family style to use linens and cover the tables. And I put a bunch of tables out here. So I put, I think like 5 or 6 tables. Yeah, 5 or 6 tables right there on the outside. So as soon as you walk into the bakery, I just really hope that people, go get their baked goods. They come out, they eat their little pastries with whoever. And then I put there's like these little, like candle table toppers from, I believe from Dine Out. And yep, here I am putting them in. And they just make it look so magical at night because it just lights up all the tables, but it doesn't light it up so much where it looks unrealistic, but it's just enough to where it's amazing and I love it. So I put those on all the tables, and then you can see this like little archway that I've put because I really wanted the space to feel open and utilize the fact that there have these amazing ocean views. And I mean, you live in freaking Tartosa. Like if you are living in Willow Creek, maybe close the doors. But Tartosa, absolutely not. It used to be open. So I put that like little open area, and then I end up putting a pergola over it. I think you're gonna see it here in a second, but I put a pergola over it with like little flowers, and I put like a big dining area behind it so that, maybe, yeah, here it is. Okay, so I put like this big dining table, and then we put a little pergola over the top of it. And I can just imagine people having like a nice little, like, in my head, I'm picturing lunch, but it's not really lunch because it's a bakery, but whatever. Again, so if you wanted to turn this into like a little restaurant, you absolutely can. So if you're playing the Joy of Life challenge and maybe you've already had a baker, you could totally turn this into a restaurant with just a couple, little switches, deletions, whatever. You know, make this still like a main dining room. The kitchen can still be the kitchen, and then put some booths on the inside instead of where I put little bakery areas. And boom, you got a nice little Tartosa um restaurant. So, super fun. But I really just wanted a big area where a lot of people can enjoy the outside. So, now we're moving into the back. I almost want to say a courtyard, but it's not really a courtyard. So I wanted a fountain, and I this fountain was just absolutely perfect. Again, all the CC that I use will be linked on a Patreon post, and it will link you directly to the creators where you can download all of this amazing CC that I end up using. But this little fountain is by Sibulet, and it has like this stone woman in the middle of it, which I just, again, she's in Tartosa. It's Italy in my mind. So I thought it was perfect. And then on the inside, there is a stone head planter that I used. I do not remember who that is by, but it just ties in perfectly. And I think it just fits the space. So I end up using this little fountain. And then I do a little like patio seating area. Um, where yeah, and I use these, like, little string lights, and I didn't realize how, like, low to the ground these string lights are, so I'm pretty sure it kinda looks like your Sims are hitting their head, but it's fine. I wanted a little, like, dreamy, magical night where people, sit under fairy lights and enjoy some donuts. So that's exactly what we did. So here I am. I throw some planters all around because, again, the Simple Living Latte is a big challenge of the Joy of Life Legacy Challenge. So you have to have this latte on, and you can only cook with the materials that you have. So Maeve would totally have some at her actual house. She has like a lemon tree, and she has a strawberry bush and all these things that she would totally have, at her bakery. So she's able to just go harvest them and then cook with them. But I really wanted to do almost like a greenhouse, but it just wasn't working in anyone's favor, and there was no good area to put it in. So instead, I did like little planters instead. And there's a lot of palm trees. I am going to be honest, I did not feel like breaking out the debug menu to find the trees that go in the My Wedding Stories pack. So instead, we went with palm trees. And I think it looks beachy and magical. I use the little hydrangeas from Max 20, and I use them in a lot of my builds because I absolutely adore hydrangeas. And I just think that they tie together builds magically. I use these little lanterns to light this area because, again, they have the stream lights, and I just feel like it would be more of like a soft lighting, not anything huge. And I really felt like it went with the vision of what I was going for. So this build uses a lot of blues and things and yellows because I wanted this, again, to feel warm, cozy, but also mimic, Italy. And in my mind, Italy has a lot of fun colors. I've never been to Italy, but this is my picture. And when I did a lot of research on Mediterranean style builds, because I didn't want it to be a Tuscan style because that's how I built her house. So when I was researching those builds, it was a lot of oranges and reds and, like olivey greens. So I thought the back area was a great way to tie that in because the bakery is nothing but blue and I love it. Here I am just adding some like little patio chairs outside. I wanted them to be a little bit different because this is more of an outdoorsy area. So where maybe people aren't, utilizing the bakery for what it needs to be, but they're just, hanging out by the fountain. I threw in again a bunch of planters in different colors. And I do this like little flower wall, which I just think adds again another pop of color. And I think it makes it, it ties it together. I think it looks great. But we are nearing towards the end of the build. I think the only things that I have left to do are the bathrooms upstairs. There are only two bathrooms, and I mean, a bathroom's a bathroom, but I felt like there was too much space up here, so I end up deleting the floor and making it open to the top. And then I add in more of like the vines of flowers on the inside, which I just, again, a little touch of life in here, never hurt nobody. I end up adding in some pillars and a little like beam across so it looks more structurally sound and ties in a little bit more of the wood. But here I am adding in the two bathrooms. There is a little tiny sitting area up there with a little rug and just another little chair. But I mean, it's mainly just for people waiting for the bathroom. The bigger bathroom does have a like infant changing table on it. So I believe that is the bathroom that you were not able to access the actual toilet from. So I did have to move it to one of the sidewalls and it does end up working. The changing table does work. So I'm not sure why it wasn't working, but it is what it is. So here is that little sitting area that I was telling you about. Again, just plants everywhere. And then I add in this little poster here. There's not a whole lot of artwork on the walls. I think there ends up being like maybe 5 art pieces throughout the entire build, and they're all bakery themed. And I think I add those in at the very, very end on the main room, like the main little dining area. But they're just little pictures of baked goods. And I thought it was absolutely perfect. So here is just, again, the bathroom. There's really nothing too special about it. But there are a bunch of pictures at the very end. And I really enjoy how this build turned out. I think it pushed me right out of my comfort zone. And I cannot wait to use this build for Maeve and her little bakery and to see the twins, running amok in it. If you guys have not watched my Joy of Life Legacy Challenge, I highly recommend you do. I will link it in this video somewhere. But other than that, there are gonna be some pictures at the end, and I'm gonna let you guys feel out the rest of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys so soon. Thanks, guys.